Oh gosh. Hello.
Hello. How's it
Welcome
going?
back. How's it going? Hey, how are you? Good.
How are you?
I'm Olivia,
And I'm Amy. And
and
this
this
is
is Girls
Girls
Gone
Gone
Spooky.
Spooky.
And you're in luck because this is our early, right? Yeah,
I
early
think
Thanksgiving
early. Yeah.
episode.
Yes.
So it's a
Amazing.
holiday. You know what that means. Scary
Scary
campfire stories.
stories.
Scary
Yay.
stories.
Scary
Uh,
stories. With Girls Gone Spooky.
Ghost gone spooky. Oh my god, send help. We've lost our minds.
Yep.
Okay, well, we have some very spooky ones today. One of
Yes.
which is not a no sleep one,
I know.
which is extremely concerning.
Disturbing. Yep.
Yeah, with video evidence.
Yeah.
So yeah, freaking gird your loins,
Yeah.
my friends. Hold on to your knickers because it's scary
Yeah.
as shit.
Yikes.
But we're gonna kick us off with something a little seasonal because we
Yay.
thought that'd be cute.
Yeah.
It's not cute. I'll tell you straight up.
Yeah, she tricked me with the name. I
It
got
is
excited.
called the snowman ritual, which she's like,
Aw.
oh, snowmen. I was like, it's not
No.
that kind of ritual.
Yeah. Okay. Let's hear
So
it.
it's getting snowy, it's getting dark. We've done the time change. Womp.
Yeah.
We're in our depresso era. And this is something you might want to try out once the snow starts falling.
Following you.
Following. I mean, well, fitting.
Is that appropriate? Yeah.
Fitting, yes. If it hasn't already, wherever you live. So this is from Made This for Taladin, and it is called, like I said, the Snowman Ritual. So the following is a set of instructions on how to perform the Snowman Ritual. This is a quote-unquote peace and prosperity ritual to be performed during the winter months in order to obtain favor and protection throughout the coming year, and will take 3 days to complete fully. The earliest written accounts of this ritual date back to the 4th century CE in Greater Scythia, now Ukraine and southernmost Russia. This translation has adapted the original materials used and the wording of the incantations to be more accessible for modern societies. But despite these changes, recent attempts suggest that the correctly performed rite is still extremely effective. Tradition dates that this ritual be performed in the days between Christmas Eve or the winter solstice and New Year's Day. But in theory, it should be effective during any cold period where there is sufficient snowfall. So I'm reading it to you now, so you've got prep time. All right, folks.
Get ready.
Yes. This ritual works best for farmers and homeowners who keep livestock and or pets. So that's a pretty big
dog.
Yeah, you're in. Urban apartment dwellers can attempt it, but will have a much harder time ensuring that the ritual is not interrupted or disturbed during the 3-day duration, which makes sense. Yeah. Warning. For your own safety, please read the entire instruction document before attempting this ritual. And don't worry, I'll read the whole thing, so you're good.
Perfect.
You will need 1. Snow coverage of at least 3 inches with temperatures near or below freezing over a 3-day period. 2 tree branches or wooden sticks, preferably forked at one end. 3 string or rubber bands. 4 plant material, such as dead leaves or dried grass. 5 vegetable oil, such as canola or olive oil. 6 animal material, such as a strip of leather, clump of fur, cluster of feathers, etc. 7 animal blood, such as cow or pig's blood, which can be purchased at your local butcher shop or supermarket. 8 scissors. 9 a sterilized needle. 10 a lock of your hair. And 11 a drop of your blood. Instructions.
Creepy.
Very creepy. There's a lot of blood already from 2 different sources.
Yeah.
At the edge of your property, build a snowman. It must be at least as tall as you are. So be sure to set aside the time and energy necessary or enlist family or friends to help you. It's very like wholesome, this part.
Yeah.
Ensure that the front of the snowman is facing away from your house. Use the tree branches on either side to form the snowman's arms, but do not give it a face. That will come later.
Oh.
At sundown, take the plant material, the vegetable oil, and the string or rubber bands out to the snowman. Facing the snowman, you should be looking at your house over its shoulder. Secure the plant materials to its left hand, or your right side, with the string or rubber bands. Dip your finger into the vegetable oil and press the finger into its left side of the face, so on your right side. This is the snowman's left eye. As you do this, recite the following. Snowman, snowman, see my land, hallowed soil on which we stand. Snowman, snowman, bless my home, guide me back if e'er I roam. Afterwards, return to your house, lock the door, draw the curtains, and go to bed before midnight. If you wake in the night and hear a shuffling noise in the snow, do not open your curtains. The snowman is moving about, judging if your land and home are worthy. If you wake in the morning and the snowman has returned to its original position, congratulations! Your land and home will be safe for the next year, and you will be sure to return from any long journey you take. If you wake in the morning and the snowman is on a different part of your land, take heed of it. Whatever it is near will be affected by some calamity within the following year. If you wake in the morning and the snow has not melted, but the snowman is gone, move.
Like move houses?
Yep, move.
Wow. Okay.
So
Intense.
we continue. The next day at sundown, take the animal material, the animal blood, and the string or rubber bands out to the snowman. Facing the snowman, again, looking at your house over its shoulder, secure the animal materials to its right hand, your left side, with the string or rubber bands. Dip your finger into the blood and press the finger into the right side of its face, your left side. This is the snowman's right eye. As you do this, recite the following. Snowman, snowman, see my herd, pet and cattle, fish and bird. Snowman, snowman, bless my flock, grow them grass from thorn and rock. Afterwards, return to your house, lock the door, draw the curtains, go to bed before midnight. If you wake up and hear shuffling noise in your house, do not open the bedroom door.
No.
The snowman is moving about, judging if the animals in your care are worthy. If you wake in the morning and the snowman has returned to its original position, congratulations. Your pets will be healthy for the next year and any livestock you own will thrive. If you wake in the morning and there is an inexplicable puddle of water near something your pet owns, like your dog's bed or your bird's cage, take heed. You should probably look into pet insurance for the next year. If you wake in the morning and the snow has not melted, but the snowman is gone, say your goodbyes to them while you can. I am so sorry.
God. No. Who is the
We're not
snowman
done.
to judge my
I don't know.
dog?
Yeah, I know. Especially the pets. Like, come
Yeah.
on. They're all worthy.
Get out of here. They are.
So we're not done yet, though. The next day at sundown, take the scissors and the needle out to the snowman. Facing the snowman, you should be looking at your house over its shoulder. Use the needle to draw a drop of blood from your fingertip and draw it in a straight line across the snowman's face, forming a groove in the snow. This is the snowman's mouth. Using the scissors, clip a lock of your hair and stuff it into the groove of its mouth, ensuring that the hair does not fall out. As you do this, recite the following. Snowman, snowman, see my breath, drawing ever unto death. Snowman, snowman, bless my heart, judge me whole, and hence depart. Afterwards, return to your house, lock the door, draw the curtains, and go to bed before midnight. If you wake in the night and feel a cold, dark presence in your bedroom, do not open your eyes.
Oh.
The snowman is standing over you, judging if your soul is worthy. If you wake in the morning, congratulations! The snowman will have returned to its original position, having judged you worthy. You can expect good health and good fortune in the next following year. Warning. To date, there are no surviving accounts of what happens to someone who is judged as unworthy. Take from that what you will. The next day, before sundown, preferably when the sun is highest, go over to the snowman, approach it only from behind, do not walk around to face it, and demolish the snowman completely. Break the tree branches as many times as possible. Scatter the snow around the yard as evenly as you can. Make sure that no trace of it remains. Say absolutely nothing. Once the snowman is demolished, the ritual is complete. Enjoy your year of peace and prosperity. Use it well, for when the days grow short and your luck runs thin, you may find yourself looking anxiously for the next deep snowfall. If so, I pray that the snowman may judge you whole this year and every year after. The fact you have to do it every year?
Yeah, no.
That is
That's not
way
happening.
too frequent to risk it all.
No. Yeah, way too frequent. And what if you move? What if
you move?
Move to Florida? Can't do it anymore.
Well, don't move to Florida.
Yeah, no.
But
I'm not going to. Hypothetically.
Let's say California. Well, parts of California you could.
That's, Southern California.
Your second home in Lake Tahoe.
Yeah,
you could.
Exactly.
our timeshare vacation home in Lake Tahoe.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what? We're manifesting. We're manifesting.
One day. One of these days.
You should tell everyone about the bowl-shaped star chart, because that was interesting.
Oh. Yeah. I wanted to Google it some more, but I saw a little video on Instagram about it was an astrologer, and she was talking about bowl-shaped star charts. So when you're looking at the circle version of your chart, if all of the planets are in one part of the chart, it's considered bowl-shaped. So mine happened to be all on the bottom of the chart, so it really does look like a bowl. And I think I looked at yours, and they looked like they were on the left side.
Yeah,
did you look?
That sounds right. No. Is it on? Where did you look? CoStar?
Yeah, if you go on there.
I need to go check you.
And then go to you.
Chart.
Yeah, chart and circle.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, see, here's mine.
Oh my God, yeah. That's so interesting.
It basically, in the video, she was talking about how people who have that shape in their chart tend to be very self-aware, like very, self-aware, self-assured, that you know yourself really, really well. But you spend your life searching for the other half, is what she was saying.
Interesting.
And that they tend to be pretty witchy people, more intuitive. Like Stevie Nicks was the example that she gave.
Big witch energy. Yeah. We love that.
Yes. That's the ultimate goal.
Truly.
So, kind of cool. And I looked.
I love that.
My sister also has a bowl-shaped chart.
I feel like can you just look at everyone's? I didn't even know you could do that. Friends. Who else do I have on here? I also don't even know what some people's, like, I have usernames on here that I'm like, I don't even know who that is.
Yeah.
Let's see my dad's, if I can see.
Oh, is he on here? That's so funny.
Not bowl-shaped, Dad.
Is he all over the place?
It's like U-shaped. So yes. Well, I mean, but it's like covering like 3/4 of the chart. This is fascinating.
It is.
Let me see.
I don't know how to interpret it, but
Lauren is bowl-shaped except for one that just goes straight across, which is funny.
I think I saw that's like called a funnel or something, or a bucket.
Oh my God.
That's also a thing.
Bucket.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do so much more research about this. This is like so fascinating.
Check it out.
I'm looking at Sarah's.
Also
a bucket.
Oh,
that's so weird.
Wow.
Yeah, sorry, what were you going to say?
I think that your and Dave's charts look
like the same.
From what I saw.
You're in love with
have
me.
Always loved you.
Get it. Watch out, Dave. Miss Steelio girl.
Yep. That is so interesting.
That is so interesting. I love that for me.
Yep. Is Noah on there? That would be hilarious if ours looked the same.
I thought I added him on here. I like stealth did it on his phone. And he's like, you did what? I was like, sorry.
I did that to Dave.
Let me see. Yeah. He was like, great, so glad this company has my information now.
Yep.
I was like, sorry.
What are they going to do with it?
I don't
Nothing.
know. Actually, you know what? We didn't ever set it up because he doesn't know what time he was born. I need to ask his mom. I need to be that girl and ask his mom.
Ask. Yeah, might as well.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, how interesting.
Very interesting. Okay, we're going to have to do a full episode just talking about astrology because I love it.
That could be like a little bonus episode.
That'd be a good, like, New Year's one.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That'd be a fun one. Okay, I'm going to make a note of that. I like that. That'd be a really fun New Year's one. On January 10th is when we come back.
I love it. Okay. I don't know. I go back and forth on astrology. Like, I just find it so interesting, but I definitely don't let it lead my life.
No. Yeah.
That's for sure.
I feel like it's like, to me, it's sort of like a religion. It's like you take what you want, what serves you, and you leave the rest. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, it's like, it's so individual. And like, yeah, I would never like bet my life savings on an investment or something like that based on what the cards say or what my horoscope is for a given day. And I find that it is like very affirming. A lot. Like, I was just talking to a friend earlier today on the phone. They called and I was like, we were talking about some like issue I was having, and I was like, it's so weird because I feel like a lot of the frustration I'm feeling, I literally read my horoscope yesterday for the week, like the Refinery 29 one. Like, it's not like a deep one.
Deep dive.
And I was like, oh, like it made me chuckle aloud because it was like reading me for filth. I was like, oh my God, like how
does
it's
it know?
so specific. It's just, I don't know. It's so weird. But I find it to be very interesting. But we can put a pin in that for now. We'll come back to it in January for sure. And we'll do more research on different charts because that's actually so fascinating to me.
Yeah, agreed. And the last thing I'll say, I've learned at least a little bit that your like rising and moon sign tend to be more important, not more important, but like more indicative of who you are than your sun. Which makes a lot of sense because I'm a Virgo. I have some Virgo qualities, but I'm not like a perfectionist.
No, textbook.
I don't have that Virgo quality. But anyway, it's interesting.
Yeah, and you're not, I'm going to use this word and I don't mean it with a negative connotation. You're not at all controlling.
Yes.
Like, you are so like, just not. Like, you're like, oh, I'll follow. I'm good with that. Like, I don't need to be leading the charge. I feel sometimes like your sun sign, for you specifically and for people in general, is almost like what they should be in society. Like, I think we would all benefit from you leading. But I think you don't care to lead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That's a good assessment. I feel like
I, on the other hand, am textbook.
But Libra is like the best in the zodiac, I feel like. People love Libra. Everybody hates Virgos.
I love Virgos. All my best friends are Virgos. Well, not all my best friends, but you and Lauren are both Virgos.
Yeah.
It's just so interesting. And I was going to say something. My moon is Libra too, though.
Oh,
so it kind of goes back to what you're saying. It's like, what's more important?
Yeah. True.
So I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, that was a huge aside.
Tangent. If you don't like astrology, sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's sorry, we're back with scary stories.
Just ponder it.
Just pondering, you know? Okay, your turn.
Okay, so I hope I can do this justice because this involves a lot of screenshots with, I guess you could call it evidence of things. This is a no sleep story.
Okay.
Saving the best for last.
Oh, yes.
But this one is from user Nate SW, and it's called "My Dead Girlfriend Keeps Messaging Me on Facebook. I've got the screenshots. I don't know what to do."
Oh my God.
So I'm gonna have to like describe I guess, what the messages are saying. So he writes, "Tonight's kind of a catalyst for this post. I just received another message, and it's worse than any of the others. My girlfriend died on the 7th of August, 2012. She was involved in a 3-car collision driving home from work when someone ran a red light. She passed away within minutes on the scene. We had been dating for 5 years at that point. She wasn't big on the idea of marriage. It felt archaic, she said, gave her a weird vibe. But if she had been, I would have married her within 3 months of our relationship. She was vibrant, the kind of girl that would choose dare every time. She was happiest when camping, but a total technophile too, and she always smelled like cinnamon." What a nice description.
Yeah, so sweet.
That being said, she wasn't perfect. She always said something along the lines of, "If I cark it first." I've never heard that. That's K-A-R-K. Do you know that word?
No, like
Never?
carcass?
Yeah.
I don't
like
know. Yeah.
Die first?
Yeah.
If I cark it first, don't just say good things about me. I've never liked that. If you don't pay me out, you're doing me a disservice. I've got so many flaws, and that's just part of me. So this is for M. The music she said she liked and the music she actually liked were very different. Her idea of affection was a side hug. She had really long toes like a chimpanzee. I know that's tangential, but I don't feel right discussing her without you having an idea of what she was like. On to the meat. M had been dead for approaching 13 months when she first messaged me. So, September 4th, 2013, this is when it began. I had left Emily's Facebook account activated so I could send her the occasional message, post on her wall, go through her albums. It felt too final and too un-Emily to memorialize it. I share access with her mother, Susan, meaning her mother has her login and password and has spent a total of approximately 3 minutes on the website, or on a computer total. After a little confusion, I assumed it was her. So there's a screenshot of this message with Emily, and it's from Emily. It just says, "Hello." And Nathan replies, "Who is this? It's really weird receiving messages from Emily's account." They don't answer. He sends question marks, says, "Okay, well, in the future, please send me messages from your account, even if you want to discuss her page." And then Emily says, "Hello." And then Nathan writes, "Susan, you're on Emily's account."
Oh.
So then...
Susan.
Yeah.
Such a classic mom name.
Mom trying to figure out Facebook name.
100% Susan.
Yes. So jump to November 16th, 2013. I had received confirmation from Susan that she hadn't logged into M's Facebook since the week of her death. M knew a lot of people, so I instantly assumed this was one of her more tech-savvy friends fucking with me in the worst possible way.
It's horrible.
I noticed, why that's not a friend.
No.
I noticed pretty much immediately that whoever was chatting with me was recycling old messages from M's and my shared chat history. And he writes here, "The wheels on the bus" comment was from when we were discussing songs to play on a road trip that never eventuated. And in the screenshot, it shows, it's loading. She says, "Hello, let's hit up," and then he censored it, "this Sunday." And Nathan says, "Who is this?" And then she writes, "The wheels on the bus." And he says, "Please tell me who you are." So it's just really weird messages coming through.
Yeah.
And then he says, around February 2014, Emily started tagging herself in my photos. I would get notifications for them, but the tag would generally always be removed by the time I got to it. So, this account is tagging herself in posts and in pictures.
Weird.
He says, around this period of time, I stopped being able to sleep. I was too angry to sleep. She would tag herself in random photos every couple of weeks. The friends who noticed and said something thought it was a fucked up bug. I found out recently that there have been friends who have noticed and didn't say anything. Some of them have removed me from their Facebook friends list. At this point, some of you may be wondering why I didn't just delete my Facebook profile. I wish I had. I did for a little while. On days when I can't get out there, though, it's nice having my friends available to chat. It's nice visiting M's page when the little green circle isn't next to her name. I was already socially reclusive when M was alive. Her death turned me into something pretty close to a hermit. On March 15th, I sent what I assumed was M's hacker a message, and he had written, "Why are you doing this? Why do you keep tagging her?" On March 25th, so 10 days later, he received an answer. And it says, it's loading. She just wrote back, "Hello," 4 times in a row. And Nathan said, "This is actually devastating. I don't know why you enjoy doing this." And then Emily wrote, "OMG, cinnamon scented candles." And then he said, "Go to hell." And then she wrote, "Why are you doing this?" So it's so creepy. I just don't know what's happening here. Okay, so let's see.
Well, the messages she sends are also so, like, mundane.
Yes, right. And like him saying at the beginning that she always smelled like cinnamon, and then her saying cinnamon candles is really weird. Okay, next one, he says, "This message seems like word salad. Like all of our conversations so far, it's recycled from previous messages, but this has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 messages in a row saying we should make our own jam." Then she writes JFC Samantha with a sad face. She says, "Different, no chance of passing, no chance of passing. How many? Garage side door, side, no chance of passing."
Oh, I hate the no chance of passing.
I know.
Oh, that gives me goosebumps.
Same. Okay, now we're at the 29th of April. I hadn't discovered any leads. Facebook had told me the locations her page had been accessed from. Well, but since her death, they're all places I can account for. It was my what's it called? Keyboard.
Okay.
Sorry.
Debunked.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, but since her death, they're all places I can account for. My home, my work, her mom's house, etc. Okay, and then the message says, baked beans on toast. Oh, she says this. Baked beans on toast. I don't know. I just said, "Yo, ask Nathan. Nathan, Nathan, Nathan."
Oh my God.
And he says, "I don't know what's happening. I don't know how you're still doing this. Please stop." And she says, "Please stop. I don't know what's happening. Nathan, I don't know what's happening."
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then this, he says, is the first original word she, question mark, has made. This has given me nightmares that have only started to kick in recently. And this is on the 8th of May. She wrote a bunch of like numbers, and then she wrote, "My jumper's in the dryer and it's really cold out," with a sad face. Then she says, "Really cold out. Cold, cold. Nathan, please stop.
Oh my God.
Cold, freezing," in all caps.
Oh my God.
And I don't know what's happening.
I am covered in goosebumps.
Yeah,
That is
same.
so freaky.
It's so scary and so sad. Yeah. So we're into May. He gets drunk and writes her a message because he's missing her. So he just wrote, "I'm really drunk. I miss you. Whoever's on this account, I don't give a fuck. I keep coming home from work and expecting to see you at the computer. Shouldn't I be used to that by now?" And Emily wrote back, "Just let me walk."
Oh.
So, yeah. And then he writes, "In the collision, so how she died." The dashboard had crushed her. She was severed in a diagonal line from her right hip to midway down her left thigh, and one of her legs was found tucked under the back seat.
Oh my God.
She
That's so gruesome.
couldn't walk.
Just let me walk. Holy fuck.
Okay. Now we're into, let's see. Going back in time, he writes. These are the logs from the day she died. She was usually home from work by 4:30. This, alongside a couple of voicemail messages, is the last time I talked to her, under the assumption that she was alive. You'll see why I'm showing you these soon. So he wrote Gray Street somewhere, because she was asking where he was. And then he said, hey, you on your way home? Emily, when you see this message, please ring me straight away. I rang work and they said you left at 4. I'm starting to panic. I feel sick in my stomach. Please ring me. Emily, answer your phone.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
It is. I can't even entertain the thought of that.
Yeah, no.
So, yeah, then yesterday, the 1st of July, 2014, I memorialized her page a couple of days after I received the message about walking. Until today, she'd been quiet. She wasn't even tagging herself in my photos. I don't know what to do anymore. Do I kill her memorial page? What if it is her? I want to puke. I don't know what's happening. I just heard a Facebook alert. I'm too afraid to swap windows and check it. And the messages from her say, hey, you on your way home? Emily, when you see this message, please ring me straight away. Please stop. I rang and they said you left at 5. I'm starting to panic. Please stop. Cold. Emily, answer your phone. I don't know what's happening. Cold. And then it ends with all caps, freezing.
Oh my God. I'm like genuinely frightened.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. I have full body goosebumps.
Yeah. I don't know. And there are people in the comments that are saying like a similar thing happened to me. And I feel like we have read stories about people who have 100%. Passed and talk about being cold, like in a text or whatever.
And I hate that. I hate everything about that.
It too. Yeah, I hate that also. The first comment on here is, good thing I read this in the middle of the fucking day. I'm going to do my taxes or something. Which I understand.
Oh my God. Yeah, why is it evening here?
I know. Sorry.
It's okay.
Scary.
It's fine. It's dark at 3 p.m. anyway, so what difference does it make?
True.
That was extremely frightening.
Yes. Extremely.
Holy shit.
Yeah. That's one of the top rated ones on No Sleep. That's
oh my God.
How I found things.
Okay,
but on to you.
So I'm like, I read through this earlier today. So I have a series one that is not like cliffhangery. There are 8 parts, so it's very long, but each they're standalone, and even within them there are multiple little stories. And one of them, the first one, I'm pretty sure we've read before, but I sort of want to read it again because it's the opening part of the series.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so this is from Search and Rescue Woods, and this is, I'm a search and rescue officer for the U.S. Forest Service, and I have some stories to tell. So again, first of 8 parts. So I'm just gonna get into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
I wasn't sure where else to post these stories, so I figured I'd share them here. I've been an SAR officer, search and rescue, for a few years now, and along the way I've seen some things that I think you guys would be interested in. First of all, I have a pretty good track record for finding missing people. Most of the time, they've just wandered off the path or slipped down a small cliff and they can't find their way back. The majority of them have heard the old stay where you are thing and they don't wander far, but I've had 2 cases where that didn't happen, and both bother me a lot, so I use them as motivation to search even harder on the missing persons cases I do get called on. The first was a little boy who was out berry picking with his parents. He and his sister were together, and both of them went missing around the same time. Their parents lost sight of them for a few seconds, and in that time, both the kids apparently wandered off. When their parents couldn't find them, they called us, and we came out to search the area. We found the daughter pretty quickly, and when we asked where her brother was, she told us that he'd been taken away by the, quote, bear man. Ugh. She said he gave her berries and told her to stay quiet, that he wanted to play with her brother for a while. The last she saw of her brother, he was riding on the shoulders of the bear man and seemed calm. Of course, our first thought was abduction, but we never found a trace of another human being in that area. The little girl was also insistent that he wasn't a normal man, but that he was tall and covered in hair, like a bear, and that he had a quote-unquote weird face. We searched that area for weeks. It was one of the longest calls I've ever been on, and we never found a single trace of that kid. The other was a young woman who was out hiking with her mom and grandpa. According to the mother, her daughter had climbed up a tree to get a better view of the forest, and she'd never come back down. They waited at the base of the tree for hours, calling her name before they called for help. Again, we searched everywhere, and we never found a trace of her. I have no idea where she could have possibly gone because neither her mother nor grandfather saw her come back down. Weird.
That is so bizarre.
Yeah.
I don't think we've read this one before.
So we've read one of the parts.
The series. Okay.
Yeah. Well, one of the stories within this first series. You'll see. Yeah. You'll recognize it. Okay. I think. A few times I've been out on my own searching with a canine, and they've tried to lead me straight up cliffs. Not even hills, not even rock faces, straight sheer cliffs with no possible handholds. It's always baffling, and in those cases, we usually find the person on the other side of the cliff or miles away from where the canine has led us. I'm sure there's an explanation, but it's very strange. One particularly sad case involved the recovery of a body. A 9-year-old girl fell down an embankment and got impaled on a dead tree at the base. It was a complete freak accident, and I'll never forget the sound her mother made when we told her what had happened. She saw the body bag being loaded into the ambulance, and she let out the most haunting, heartbroken wail I had ever heard. It was like her whole life was crashing down around her, and a part of her had died with her daughter. I heard from another SAR officer that she... trigger warning here. So if you need to skip forward. Committed suicide a few weeks after it happened, as she couldn't live with the loss of her daughter. I teamed up with another SAR officer because we'd received reports of bears in the area. We were looking for a guy who hadn't come home from a climbing trip when he was supposed to, and we ended up having to do some serious climbing to get to where we figured he'd be. Excuse me. We found him trapped in a small crevasse with a broken leg. Sorry, I have to do that when I say crevasse. With a broken leg. It was not pleasant. He'd been there for almost 2 days, and his leg was very obviously infected. We were able to get him into a chopper, and I heard from one of the EMTs that the guy was absolutely inconsolable. He kept talking about how he'd been doing fine, and when he'd gotten to the top, a man had been there. He said the guy had no climbing equipment, and he was wearing a parka and ski pants. He walked up to the guy, and when the guy turned around, he said he had no face. It was just blank. So he freaked out and ended up trying to get off the mountain too fast, which is why he'd fallen. So imagine that. You'd be stuck there.
Yeah.
Knowing that thing was there.
Yeah. Oh my God.
He said he could hear the guy all night, climbing down the mountain and letting out these horrible muffled screams. That story bothered the hell out of me, and I was really glad I wasn't there to hear it. Mm-hmm. I hate that. One of the scariest things I've ever had happen to me involved the search for a young woman who'd gotten separated from her hiking group. We were out until late at night because the dogs had picked up her scent, and when we found her, she was curled up under a large rotted log. She was missing her shoes and her pack, and she was very clearly in shock. She didn't have any injuries, and we were able to get her to walk back with us to the base ops. Along the way, she kept looking behind us and asking why that big man with black eyes was following us. We couldn't see anyone, so we just wrote it off as some weird symptom of shock. Yeah, ew. Mm-hmm. But the closer we got to base, the more agitated this woman became. She kept asking me to tell him to stop making faces at her.
Oh, no.
Yeah. At one point, she stopped and turned around and started yelling into the forest, saying that she wanted him to leave her alone. She wasn't going to go with him, she said, and she wouldn't give us to him. We finally, give us to him? No.
Yeah. No. No.
We finally got her to keep moving, but we started hearing these weird noises coming from all around us. It was almost like coughing, but more rhythmic and deeper. It was almost insect-like. I don't really know how else to describe it. When we were within sight of the base ops, the woman turns to me and her eyes are about as wide as I can imagine a human can open them. She touches my shoulder and says, "He says to tell you to speed up. He doesn't like looking at the scar on your neck."
Ew.
And then he says, "I have a very small scar on the base of my neck, but it's mainly hidden under my collar, and I have no idea how this woman could have seen it." Right after she says it, I hear that weird coughing right in my ear, and
Oh,
I
God.
just about jumped out of my skin. I hustled her to ops, trying not to show how freaked out I was, but I have to say I was really happy when we left the area that night. Ugh.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's interesting that the guy saw something with no face and she saw
Mm-hmm.
something that was making faces at her.
Yeah,
That's
totally. And then the
weird.
bear man also had a weird face. There's a lot of
Yeah.
face stuff
Face.
going on in the
Mm-hmm.
woods. A
Creepy.
lot of face stuff going on. Um
It's an intelligent way of putting it.
yeah, exactly. Thank
Face
you.
stuff in the woods.
Yeah, I'm witchy and intuitive, you know?
Yeah.
So this is the last one I'll tell, and it's probably the weirdest story I have. This is the one that I think we've read before.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if this is true in every SAR unit, but in mine, it's sort of an unspoken regular thing we run into. You can try asking about it with other SAR officers, but even if they know what you're talking about, they probably won't say anything about it. We've been told not to talk about it by our superiors, and at this point, we've all gotten so used to it that it doesn't even seem weird anymore. On just about every case where we're really far into the wilderness, I'm talking 30 or 40 miles, at some point, we will find a staircase in the middle of the woods. Do you remember this?
Yes.
Yeah. It's almost like if you took the stairs in your house, cut them out, and put them in the forest. I asked about it the first time I saw some, and the other officer just told me not to worry about it, that it was normal. Everyone I asked said the same thing. I wanted to go check them out, but I was told very emphatically that I should never go near them ever. So I just sort of ignore them now when I run into them because it happens so frequently. So he says, "I have a lot more stories to tell, and I suppose if anyone's interested, I'll tell some more of them tomorrow. If anyone has theories about the stairs or if you've seen them too, let me know." But of course, people in the comments are like, "Fucking yeah, I've seen the stairs."
Yeah.
So some people think that they're remnants from broken down buildings that were at some point in time there. But some people also say nah, the stairs I've seen look new,
Yeah.
not wear and tear of, some dilapidated old house, very much just hanging out there and not connected to anything on the top. So how they're even staying upright in some
It's
cases
weird.
is a mystery.
Yeah.
So that is part 1. And now it is your turn.
Okay. I definitely remember reading a story about somebody who went up one of the stairs that they found.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Must have been in
And
an old
I think we did
episode.
a stairs episode.
Yeah.
Because they're
Haunted
portals, right?
Uh-huh.
It makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Ugh, scary.
Yeah, very creepy.
Yeah. Okay. Also, if you hear a noise, Dave has just arrived.
Okay, good. So I
Don't
won't be worried you're being murdered. Great.
Yeah, he's here.
Excellent.
Okay. So this is in the forum Ask Reddit, and it says, "Serious. What is the creepiest thing that has ever actually happened to you?" And this is a comment on the post from Bing Bong 1 2 3
Bing
4.
bong. Bing bong,
Also,
bing bong.
And he writes, "I've been waiting a long time to tell Reddit the full story of the Whistler.
Blech.
This This story requires many details, but it is unexplainable, creepy, and 100% true. I also have video evidence, and thank God they share it.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I was about 8 years old, I was taking my dog for a walk through the neighborhood with my mom. It was maybe 11 p.m. We live next to a swamp/woods area on the edge of our neighborhood in Lansing, Michigan. I remember it being very silent and slightly windy. From down in the swamp, we heard somebody whistling at us. It sounded sort of like a bird, but each whistle was different enough where the lack of consistency made it human-like. The whistle sounded higher, then lower. I can't really describe it. My mom had a concerned, slightly terrified look on her face and grabbed my hand and said that we should go inside quickly. I didn't understand because I was too young, but seeing my mom freak out made me freak out too. After a while, though, I kind of forgot about it. 2 years later, I was taking my dog out again, late at night. There is a large bush that could easily obscure a person behind it, just next to the front door.
Hate that.
Yeah. As I was finishing the walk, the whistling noise started again. Same pitches, same inconsistent, human-like tones. As I heard it, a chill went down my spine, as I remembered exactly the feeling of seeing my mom, terrified, looking down into the swamp at something I couldn't see. Maybe she couldn't either. I ran inside as fast as possible. Years went by, and I thought about it less and less. I told only a handful of people, and eventually it slipped from my mind. Fast forward to last summer, I'm 24, started dating my girl Sarah. We moved out to South Dakota for work. For Independence Day, we decided to go to Pierre, South Dakota, and watch the fireworks along the bank of the Missouri River. There was a free camping spot behind a hospital where you could pitch your tent, hang out, and see the fireworks up the river. We were near the end of the campground, and there were very few people around us. As it was getting dark, the fireworks began. They were pretty far away, so the illumination they brought was very little. Thus, we had to sit right at the edge of the river to be able to see them. A huge thunderhead was moving in, and a storm was imminent, so the air seemed electric, and the wind was picking up. The atmosphere was eerie, to say the least. The police boats herded all the other boats off of the river and had left our area to do that elsewhere. Most of the other campers walked up the river to have a better view of the fireworks, but Sarah and I stayed back and were drinking PBR tall boys and kicking it. And suddenly, we heard the sound of a paddle methodically dipping into the water. We saw a figure steering a canoe about 20 meters offshore. Sarah decided to go get more beers from the car, leaving me alone to stare at this mystery person. And then, of course, they whistled at me. My entire body was frozen and covered in goosebumps. It was the exact same whistle from my childhood, more than a decade earlier. I looked at the figure, but it was much too dark to discern who it could be. They were wearing a hat. When they were perpendicular to the shore from me, they stopped paddling, turned the canoe to face directly at me, and whistled right at me. I was so frightened, I stood up and shouted at them, "Who are you?" They didn't say anything, just whistled a couple more times, turned the canoe 180 degrees, and paddled out of sight. I'm a videographer, so I already had my camera by my side and was taking video of the fireworks. As the canoe was almost out of sight, I grabbed my camera and got a shot of them whistling as they went away. When Sarah came back from getting beers, she was very confused as to why I was so freaked out. When I explained, she was freaked out too. I was convinced we would both be murdered that night. How did this whistling person follow me after 14 years all the way to South Dakota? Was it a coincidence? Why was it the same whistling noise? Who was that person and where did they go? So many questions still unanswered. To this day, I'm more afraid of being outside in the dark where I might hear that whistling again. I'm open to any explanations. And they posted a video, which is so scary. I will play some and hope that you guys can hear it.
Yeah.
Because you'll hear the sound of the water, and hopefully you can also hear the whistle. Can you hear it?
Mm-hmm.
He says there's the firework sound. And
Yeah.
he said that he thought Sarah was whistling. Well, okay, that's enough.
Oh my God. Okay, we will post the YouTube video on our stories and put it in our highlights so that you guys
Yes.
can watch the YouTube video when this episode airs.
Yeah,
Fuck,
because
dude.
what is that?
It's so scary. I hate it.
Same. And it was interesting because the top comment on this post is
Yeah, what do people
somebody,
say?
this person says, in my country, Venezuela, there is a legend about a guy called El Silbón, the Whistler, a sort
Oh.
of damned soul that warns people of their coming death.
That, oh my God, I
Mhm.
just got chills
But this has been happening to the poster for so long,
for so
but
long.
it continues on that, like, if you hear it, it could be that somebody you're close to or somebody around you might be dying soon.
I wonder if anyone, like if someone around him had died and he just didn't put the pattern together.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's
That
see.
is so scary.
Yeah, it's so scary, and I can't find it in here, but somewhere somebody said, like, remember that if the whistling sounds close, it's actually farther away, but if it's far away, it's actually close to you.
Yeah. They
I
say
don't,
that in Appalachia too,
yeah,
that they,
so,
the whistling at night is, yeah,
yeah.
very tricky.
Ew. But anyway,
Oh, God.
last thing I'll say, somebody else in the
Yeah.
comments was like, is this the male version of La Llorona?
Well, right.
Because, yeah, and it's a
Totally.
whistle instead of crying.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and
scary.
yeah, I feel like whistling is like
Mhm.
a good equivalent
Scarier.
for a male character
Yeah,
here.
that's true. Yeah.
Oh,
Ew.
and the tone of it, I hate
Mhm.
it.
I know. I know.
Oh my
Ew.
God. I hate it. I hate it.
Yep. So
Okay, well,
anyway,
I'm gonna read a little bit of, I'm not gonna finish part 2, I don't think, because it's really long.
okay.
But I'm gonna read through part of it. Maybe I'll get through all of it. We'll see. So this is the same one. I'm a search and rescue officer for the U.S. Forest Service, and I have some stories to tell. Part 2. So they say, I logged back on tonight and was blown away by the staggering amount of interest this seems to have generated. First off, I'll address a few things that you guys have brought up. There's been an overwhelming amount of people mentioning the similarity between some of my stories and those of David Paulides. I don't know. It's spelled like Paul, the name Paul, Ides. So I don't know how to say that. Paulides.
Yeah. No.
I assure you, I'm not trying to rip him off in any way. I've got nothing but respect for the guy. He's actually what inspired me to write this because I can verify a lot of the things that he has talked about. We do have a lot of these strange missing persons cases, and most of the time they aren't solved. Either that or we find them in places that they have no business being. I personally haven't been on many calls like that, but I'll share a few that I've seen, as well as a story my friend told me that relates to this. Secondly, there was a lot of feedback about the stairs, so I'll touch briefly on that here, and I'll also include a story. They come in a variety of shapes, sizes, styles, and conditions. Some are pretty dilapidated, just ruins, but others are brand new. I saw one set that looked like they came from a lighthouse. They were metal and spiraled, almost old-fashioned looking. The stairs don't go up infinitely or farther than I can see, but some sets are taller than others. Like I said before, just imagine the stairs in your house as if someone cut and pasted them into the middle of nowhere. I don't have any pictures. It's honestly never really occurred to me to try to take one after the first time I encountered them, and I don't really feel like risking my job over it. I'll try again in the future, but I can't make any promises. Lastly, a few people expressed confusion about the guy who ran into the man with no face. Just to clarify, when the climber ascended and reached the top of this peak, he saw another man in a parka and ski pants. This was the man with no face. Sorry about the confusing wording. So they thought like that the hiker didn't have a face, but he was like, no,
Oh,
the guy we recovered had a
yeah.
face. He ran into a guy with no face. It
Right.
made sense to me, but
Yeah,
whatever.
same. I got it.
Yeah. Okay, so on to the news stories. As far as missing persons go, I'd say about half the calls I get are related to that. Others are rescue calls, people who fall down cliffs and hurt themselves, get injured by fire. You wouldn't believe how often this happens, mostly by drunk kids. Get bitten or stung by animals or insects. We're a tight team and we have veterans who are excellent at finding signs of lost people. That's what makes these cases where we never find any trace of them so frustrating. One in particular was upsetting for all of us because we did find a trace of them, but it just led to more questions than answers. An older man had been hiking alone on a well established trail, but his wife called to say that he hadn't come home when he should have. Apparently, he had a history of seizures, and she was worried that he hadn't taken his medication and may have suffered one out on the trail. Before you ask, I have no idea why he thought it was okay to go out alone or why I shouldn't go with him. I don't ask about that kind of thing because past a certain point, it doesn't really matter. Someone is missing, and it's my job to find them. We went out on a standard search formation, and it wasn't long before one of our vets found signs that the guy had gone off trail. We grouped up and followed him, spreading out in a fan to make sure we were covering as much ground as possible. Suddenly, a call comes over the radio telling us all to head back to the vet's location, and we come right away because this usually means the missing person is injured and we need a full team to help get them out safely. We meet back up, and the vet is just standing at the base of a tree with his hands on the sides of his head. I ask my buddy, what's going on? And he points up to the branches of this tree. I almost couldn't believe what I was seeing. But there's a walking stick dangling from a branch at least 30 feet off the ground. The little strap on the handle has been looped around the branch and is just hanging there. There is no way the guy could have tossed it up that far. We don't see any other signs that he's still in the area. We call up into the tree, but it's very obvious there's no one in it. We're all just sort of left scratching our heads. We keep searching for the guy, but we never find him. We even bring our canines out, but they lose his scent long before this tree. Eventually, the search is called off because there are other calls we have to attend to, and past a certain point, there's not a whole lot we can do. The guy's wife called us every day for months asking if we'd found her husband, and it was heartbreaking to hear her get more and more hopeless each time. I'm not sure why this call in particular was so upsetting, but I think it was just the sheer improbability of it. That and the questions that were raised. How the hell did this guy's cane end up there? Did someone kill him and then toss it up there as some sort of weird trophy? We really did our best to find him, and it felt like a taunt. We still talk about that one from time to time. Missing kids, of course, are the most heartbreaking. It doesn't matter what circumstances they go missing under, it's never easy, and we always, always dread the ones that we find deceased. It's not common, but it does happen. David Paulides, I'm going to call him Paulides because I don't know how else to say that, talks a lot about kids SAR teams find in places that they shouldn't be or couldn't be. I can honestly say I've heard about this kind of thing happening more than I've seen it, but I'll share one of the ones that I think about a lot that I witnessed personally. A mother and her 3 kids were out for a picnic in an area of the park that has a small lake. One is 6, one is 5, and the other is about 3. She's watching them all really closely, and according to her, she never lets them out of her sight at any time. She never saw anyone else in the area either, which is important. She packs their stuff up, and they start to head back to the parking area. Now, this lake is only about 2 miles into the woods, and it's on a very clearly established trail. It's almost impossible to get lost getting from the parking area to the lake unless you're deliberately going off the path like an imbecile. Her kids are walking in front of her when she hears what sounds like someone coming up the path behind her. She turns around, and in the 4 seconds or so that she's not looking, her 5-year-old son vanishes. She figures he's stepped off the trail to pee or something, and she asks the other 2 where he went. They both tell her that a big man with a scary face came out of the woods next to them, took the kid's hand, and led him into the trees. The 2 remaining kids don't seem that upset. In fact, she says later that it almost seems like they'd been drugged. They're sort of spacey and fuzzy. So, of course, she freaks out, starts looking frantically in the area for her child. She's screaming his name, and she says at one point she thinks she hears him answer her. Now, obviously, she can't go blindly running into the woods. She has the other 2 kids. So she calls the police and they send us out immediately. We respond and we start the search for him. Over the course of this search, which spans miles, we never find a single trace of the kid. Canines can't pick up any scent. We don't find any clothing or broken bushes or literally anything that would signify a child being there. Of course, there's then suspicion about the mother for a while, but it's pretty clear that she is completely destroyed by the whole situation. We looked for this kid for weeks with a lot of volunteer help, but eventually the search peters out and we have to move on. The volunteers keep searching though, and one day we get a call on the radio letting us know that a body has been found and needs to be recovered. They tell us the location, and none of us can believe it. We figure it has to be a different kid. But we go out there about 15 miles from the site where he vanished, and sure enough, we find the body of the kid we've been looking for. I have been trying to figure out how this kid got where he did ever since we found him, and I don't think I will ever come up with an answer. A volunteer just happened to be in the area because he figured he might as well look in places no one else would think to on the off chance the body had been dumped. He comes to the base of a tall, rocky slope, and halfway up, he sees something. He looks through his binoculars, and sure enough, it's the body of a little boy stuffed in a little opening in the rock. He recognizes the color of the kid's shirt, so he knows right away that it's the kid who's missing. That's when he calls it in, and we're dispatched. It took us almost an hour to get his body down, and none of us could believe what we were seeing. Not only was this kid 15 miles from where he'd started, there was no possible way he could have gotten up there on his own. The slope is treacherous, and it's even hard for us with climbing gear. A 5-year-old boy had no way of getting up there, of that I am absolutely certain. Not only that, but the kid doesn't have a single scratch on him. His shoes are gone, but his feet aren't damaged or dirty. So it wasn't as if some animal dragged him up there. And from what we can tell, he hadn't actually been dead that long. And he'd been gone for a month.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Over a month. Yeah. He'd been out there over a month at this point. And it looked like he'd only been dead for at most a day or 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
The whole thing was unbelievably strange. It was one of the most disconcerting calls I've ever been on. We found out later that the coroner determined the kid had died from exposure. He'd frozen to death probably late at night 2 days before we found him. There were no suspects and no answers. To date, it is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen.
There's no explanation for
No.
that.
Yeah.
Whoa.
No. So that is where we are going to pause. And I will just preview that I will be reading more of these in 2 episodes from now when we have our early Christmas / Hanukkah / Kwanzaa, I suppose, celebration for more scary stories. And there's a Goatman reference, which is so funny because we just did that. So
good timing.
I will be locked in on these search and rescue ones for a while, I think, but not all of them are like crazy, crazy long. So,
wow.
But they're pretty good.
Yeah, they are good. That is so spooky.
Like them. Very spooky.
Gosh. Wow.
So that concludes our holiday spooky campfire stories sesh. Thank you guys so much for listening. You can DM us, email us, whatever you want at girlsgonespooky@gmail.com. Well, not whatever. Don't be gross.
Within reason.
gmail.com. Yeah, within reason. And you can follow us on social at Girls Gone Spooky. If you like the pod, please rate and review us. And we should probably tell them about our scheduling. So we are off next week for Thanksgiving. So we will have a very brief hiatus, and then we will have 2 more episodes leading up to mid-December, December 13, and then we will have a longer break until 2025, and we'll be back on January 10th. So stay tuned. We will still be posting creepy shit on our Instagram, and may do some little teasers for you guys in the downtime. But otherwise, we love y'all and hope you have a very spooky
Happy
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Stay spooky.
Stay spooky. Bye.
Bye.